Hi guys and welcome to my channel. Today I was reading on Reddit a little while ago. I was reading about the dark side of Dubai. It's quite an interesting read. Someone posted it up, obviously. So I'm just gonna put a link to that and I'm gonna read a bit of it. I'm not gonna read the whole thing because otherwise I'll run out of usage on my memory on my phone. So here goes. Okay, first of all, I do not take any credit to this. I'm clearly just saying that this is just a completely interesting read, and if you really want to read the full paragraph, which I most definitely suggest you do, I'll put a link to where I got this from for you. Okay, here goes. The wide smiling face of Sheikh Mohammed, the ruler of Dubai, beams down on his creation, his image displayed on every other building, sandwiched between the more familiar corporate rictuses of Ronald McDonald and Colonel Sanders. This man has sold Dubai to the world as a city of 1,001 Arabian Lights. Bloody Facebook. Insulated from the dust storms blasting across the region, he dominates the Manhattan skyline, beaming out from row after row of glass pyramids and hotels smelted in the shape of piles of golden coins. And there he stands at the tallest building in the world, a shining spike jabbing further into the sky than any other human construction in history. But something has flickered in Sheikh's smile. The ambitious cranes have paused on the skyline, as if stuck in time. There are countless buildings half-finished, seemingly abandoned, in the swankiest new constructions, like the vast Atlantis Hotel, giant pink castle built in 1,000 days for 1.5 billion, on its own artificial island, where rainwater is leaking from the ceilings and the tiles are falling off the roof. This Neverland was built on the Never Never, and now the cracks are beginning to show. Suddenly it looks more like an Iceland in the desert. So in other words, very wrong. Once the maniac burst of building has stopped, the whirlwind has slowed. The secrets of Dubai are slowly sleeping out. Karen Andrews can't speak. Every time she wants to tell her story, she puts her head down and crumbles. She's as slim and angular as the faded radiance of one of which, even though her clothes are creased as her forehead. She can be found in the car park of one of Dubai's finest international hotels, where she is living in her Range Rover. She has been sleeping here for months, thanks to the kindness of Bangladeshi car park attendants who don't have the heart to move her on. Karen came here from Canada, where her husband was offered a job. When her husband said Dubai, she said to him, "If you want me to wear black and quit booze, baby, you've got the wrong girl." But he asked me to give it a chance, and I loved him. All her worries melted when she touched down in Dubai 2005. It was an adult Disneyland, where Sheikh Mohammed where Sheikh Mohammed is the mouse. She says, "Life was fantastic. You had the amazing big apartments. You had a whole army of your own staff. You pay no taxes at all. Seemed like everyone was a CEO. We were partying the whole time. Her husband, Daniel, bought 2 properties. She says, we were drunk on Dubai, but for the first time in his life, he was beginning to mismanage their finances. We're not talking huge sums, but he was confused. It was so unlike Daniel. She says, I was surprised. We got into a little bit of debt. After a year, she found out why. Daniel was diagnosed with a brain tumour. One doctor told him he had a year to live. Another said he would be okay, but the debts were growing. Before I came here, I didn't know anything about Dubai law. I assumed if all these big companies came here, it must be pretty much like Canada's or any other liberal democracy. She says, nobody told her there is no concept of bankruptcy. If you get into debt, you can't pay. You go to Brisbane. No, you go to prison. Much worse. When we realised that, I sat Daniel down and told him, listen, we need to get out of here. He knew he was guaranteed a payment off when he resigned. So he said, right, let's take the payoff, clear the debt, and go. So Daniel resigned, but he was given a lower payoff than his contract suggested. The debt remained. As soon as you quit your job in Dubai, your employer has to inform your bank. If you have any outstanding debts that aren't covered by your savings, then all your accounts are frozen and you are forbidden to leave the country. Suddenly, our cards stopped working. We had nothing. We were thrown out of our apartment. Karen can't speak about what happened next for a long time. She was shaking. Daniel was arrested and taken away on the day of their eviction. It was 6 days before she could talk to him. He told me he was put in a cell with another debtor, a Sri Lankan guy who was only 27, who said he could not face a shame to his family. Daniel woke up and the boy had swallowed razor blades. He banged for help. Knock away. But nobody came, and the boy died in front of him. She is not alone. All over the city there are maxed out expats sleeping secretly in sand dunes or the airport or in their cars. The thing you have to understand about Dubai is nothing is what it seems. Karen says at last, nothing. This isn't a city, it's a con job. They lure you in, telling you it's one thing, a modern kind of place. But beneath the surface, it's a medieval dictatorship. Dubai only had a dribble of oil compared to the neighbours Abu Dhabi, so Sheikh Mohammed decided to use revenues to build something that would last. Israel used to boast it made the desert bloom. Sheikh Mohammed resolved to make the desert boom. He would build a city to be centre of tourism and financial services, sucking up cash and talent from across the globe. He invented the world to come tax-free, and they came in their millions, as you could imagine, swamping the local population, who now make up just 5% of Dubai. A city seemed to fall from the sky in just 30 years. Whole and complete and swelling. That's fast forwarded from the 18th century to the 21st century in just a single generation. If you take the big bus tour of Dubai, the passport to pre-possessed experience of every major city on earth, you are fed a propaganda vision of how this happened. Dubai's motto is open doors, open minds. The tour guide tells you in clipped tones before depositing you at the souks to buy camel tea cozies. Here you are, free to purchase fabrics, he adds. As you pass each new monumental building, he tells you the World Trade Center was built by His Highness. But this is a lie. The Sheikh did not build this city. It was built by slaves. They are building it now. There are 3 different Dubais, all swirling around in each other. There are expats, like Karen, who has lost everything and now sleeping in a Range Rover. There are Emirates, high-class people, headed by Sheikh Mohammed, and there is a foreign underclass who built the city and a trap there. They are hidden in plain view. You see them everywhere, in their dirt-caked blue uniforms, being shouted at by their superiors like a chain gang, but you are trained not to look. Every evening, the hundreds of thousands of young men who build Dubai are bussed from their sites to vast concentrate wasteland on an hour out of town. Let's do that again. Every evening, the hundreds of thousands of young men who build Dubai are busied from their sites to vast concentrate wasteland an hour out of town. There we go, that was better. Where they are quarantined away until a few years ago they were shuttled back and forth in cattle trucks. But expats complained this was unsightly, so now they are shunted on small metal buses that function like greenhouses in the desert. They sweat like sponges and being slowly wrung out. Sunapa is a rumble-strewn patchwork of miles of identical concrete buildings. Some 300,000 men live piled up here, in a place whose name is in Hindi means City of Gold. In the first camp I stop at, riven with smell of sewage and sweat, the men huddle around, eager to tell anyone what is happening to them, the interviewer says. To get you here, they tell you Dubai is heaven. Then you get here and you realise it's hell. Mr. Manair says 4 years ago, an employment agent arrived in his village in southern Bangladesh. They told the men of the village that there was a place where they could earn 40,000 taka a month. In European, that's £400. Just for working 9 to 5 on construction projects. It was a place where they would be given great accommodation, great food, and treated well. Sorry. All they had to do is pay an upfront fee of £220,000 taka, which is £2,300 for the work visa. A fee they would pay off in the first 6 months, easy. So Mr. Manair sold his family land and took out a loan from the local lender to head to this paradise. Upon arrival at the Dubai airport, his passport was taken from him by his construction company. He has not seen it since. He was told abruptly that from now on he would be working 14-hour days in the desert heat for 500 dirhams a month, only £90, less than a quarter of the wage he was promised. If you don't like it, the company told him, go home. But how can I go home, he said. You have my passport and I have no money for the ticket. Well, then, you better get to work, they replied. Shanil was in a panic. His family back home, his son, daughter, wife and parents were waiting for money, excited that their boy had finally made it. But he was going to have to work for more than 2 years just to pay off the cost of getting there. And all to earn less than he did in Bangladesh. His room is a tiny, pocky concrete cell with triple-decker bunk beds where he lives with 11 other men. The room stinks because the toilets in the corner of the camp, holes in the ground, are backed up with excrement and clouds of black flies. There is no air conditioning or fans, so the heat is unbearable. You cannot sleep. All you do is sweat and scratch all night. At the heat of summer, some people sleep on the floor, on the roof, anywhere they can pray for a moment of breeze. When I read that, on the roof, I was thinking, well, how can you sleep on the roof? Well, I'm guessing you'd sleep on the beams as a roof support, so there'd be so there wouldn't be that. You'll just have the roof beam. Sorry about that, guys. My voice is going weird already. The water delivered to the camp in huge white containers isn't properly distilled. It tastes of salt. It makes us sick, but we have nothing else to drink, he says. The work is the worst in the world, he says. You have to carry 50-kilogram bricks and blocks of cement in the worst heat imaginable. This heat is like nothing else. You sweat so much you cannot pee. Not for days or weeks. It's like all the liquid comes out through your skin and you stink. You become dizzy and sick, but you aren't allowed to stop, except for an hour in the afternoon. You know if you drop anything or slip, you could die. If you take time off sick, your wages are docked and you are trapped here even longer. He is currently working on the 67th floor of a shiny new tower, where he builds upwards into the sky, into the heat. He doesn't know its name. In his 4 years he has never seen Dubai of tourist fame, except as he constructs it floor by floor. Is he hungry? He is quiet for a long time. Here nobody shows their anger. You can't. You get put in jail for a long time, then deported. Last year, some workers went on strike after they were not given their wages for 4 months. The Dubai police surrounded their camps with razor wire and water cannons and blasted them out back to work. We have been robbed of everything. Even if somehow we get back to Bangladesh, the loan sharks will demand we repay our loans immediately. And when we can't, we'll be sent to prison. This is all supposed to be illegal. Employers are meant to pay on time. Never take your passport. Give you breaks in the heat. But the interviewer met nobody who said it happens. Not one. These men are conned into coming and trapped into staying, with the complicity of the Dubai authorities. There's a huge number of suicides in the camps and on the construction sites, but they're not reported. They're described as accidents. Even then, their families aren't free. They simply inherit their debts. A human rights watch study found there is a cover-up of the true extent of deaths from heat exhaustion, overwork and suicide. But the Indian consulate registered 971 deaths of their nationals in 2005 alone. After this figure was leaked, the consulates were told to stop counting. The interviewer: I approach a blonde, 17-year-old Dutch girl, wandering around in hot pants, oblivious to the swarms of men gaping at her. I love it here, she says. The heat, the malls, the beach. Does it ever bother you that it's a slave society? She puts her head down, just as Chanel did. I try not to see, she says. Even at 17, she has learned not to look and not to ask that. She senses it's a transgression too far. Between the malls there is nothing but the connecting tissue of asphalt. Every road has at least 4 lanes. Dubai feels like a motorway, punctuated by shopping centres. You only walk anywhere if you are suicidal. A residents of Dubai flit from mall to mall by car or taxis. Ahmed Eltar is a handsome 23-year-old with a neat, trimmed beard, nothing like this one. Tailored white robes and rectangular wire glasses. He speaks perfect American English and quickly shows that he knows London, Los Angeles and Paris better than most Westerners. Sitting back in his chair in a dedicated Starbucks, he announces, "This is the best place in the world to be young. The government pays for your education up to PhD level. You get given a free house when you get married. You get free healthcare, and if that's not good enough here, they pay for you to go abroad. You don't even have to pay for your phone calls. Almost everyone has a maid, a nanny and a driver. And we never pay taxes. Don't you wish you were Emirati?" I sure as hell don't. For Emiratis, this is Santa Claus state, handing out goodies while it makes its money elsewhere. Though renting out land for foreigners, soft taxes on them like businesses and airport charges and the remaining dribble of oil, most Emirates like Ahmed work for the government, so they're cushioned from the credit crunch. I haven't felt any effect at all, and nor have my friends, he says. The employment is secure. You will only be fired if you do something incredibly bad. Sure, the flooding in of expats can sometimes be an eyesore, Ahmed says, but we see the expats of price we had to pay for this development. How else could we do it? Nobody wants to go back to the days of the desert, the days before everyone came. We went from being like an African country to having an average income per head of $120,000 a year, and we're supposed to complain, he says. The lack of political freedom is fine by him. You'll find it very hard to find an Emirati who doesn't support Sheikh Mohammed. Because we really all support him. He's a great leader. Just look, he smiles and says, I'm sure my life is very much like yours. We hang out, have a coffee, go to the movies. You'll be in a Pizza Hut or Nando's in London. And at the same time, I'll be in one in Dubai, he says, ordering another latte. But do all young Emirates see it this way? Can it really be as sunny in political sands? In the sleek Emirates Tower Hotel, the interviewer, let's call him John, met Sultan. He's a 31-year-old Emirate columnist for the Dubai Press and private art collector, with a reputation for being a liberal, advocating gradual reform. He is wearing Western clothes. He's wearing Western clothes, a blue jeans, a Ralph Lauren shirt, and speaks incredibly fast, turning himself into a manic whir of arguments. People here are turning into lazy, overweight babies, he exclaims. The nanny state has gone too far. We don't do anything for ourselves. Why don't any of us work for the private sector? Why can't a mother and father look after their own child? And yet, when John, interviewer, tries to bring up the system of slavery that built Dubai, he looks angry. People should give us credit, he insists. We are the most tolerant people in the world. Dubai is the only truly international city in the world. Everyone who comes here is treated with respect. People in the West are always complaining about us, he says. Suddenly he adopts a mock whiny voice and says, in imitation of these disgusting critics, why don't you treat animals better? Why don't you have better shampoo advertising? Why don't you treat labourers better? It's revealing order. It's a revealing order. Animals, shampoo, then workers. He becomes more heated, shifting in his seat, jabbing his finger at John. I gave workers who worked for me safety goggles and special boots, and they didn't want to wear them. It slows them down. And then he smiles, coming up with what he seems like his killer argument. When I see Western journalists criticize us, don't you realize you're shooting yourself in the foot? The Middle East will be far more dangerous if Dubai fails. Our export isn't oil, it's hope. Poor Egyptians or Libyans or Iranians grow up saying, I want to go to Dubai. We're very important to the region. We are showing how to be a modern Muslim country. We don't have a fundamentalist here. Europeans shouldn't gloat at our demise. You should be very worried. Do you know what will happen if this model fails? Dubai will go down the Iranian path, the Islamist path. So it keeps going on and on. It is certainly a great read, extreme eye-opener. I've been wanting to do this for about 2 days since I've seen it. My voice is getting all croaky. I think I'm going red too. But I'll put a link to where I found this It's it's really surprising. I don't think we lived in that kind of world still. So yeah, I might try and do these type of videos, eye-opener videos, every so often, more every so often. Try and fix my vocabulary and all that, and my reading skills. So, thank you for watching, guys. Love your work. Please subscribe, like, comment. What I'd like even more than that would be to see you like my Facebook page. That's just type in the search area, Kale AE92, just the same as I've got it about there somewhere. My Facebook, my YouTube name. So, guys, thank you so much for watching. Love your work. See you guys later. Have a great day.